Good morning, good evening. How you guys doing? Today, we're going to talk about the Unicorn Chasing Residence Club. What is it? How do you become a member? And why am I doing this? So, the Unicorn Chasing Residence Club is for people who, kind of like me, get ultra obsessed with trying to get perfect graphs. Um, we know we have a perfectly functioning printer. We know it prints well. But there's something wrong with that graph, and we want the better graph. We want to figure out what's causing it. We want to, well, after we figure out what's causing it, we can then make the informed choice of whether to disregard it or how we want to make it look better. It's really, it's a fun thing to do to kind of poke fun at ourselves for chasing the unicorn, chasing that single peak in input shapers and belt shapers and trying to fine tune this thing so that it looks perfect. Whether or not it prints well is a secondary thing. Sometimes um, it's just a fun little thing to do, right? You want to really learn your printer. You're going to get some good peaks. You're going to know why it's doing that, and that's kind of the fun of it. And it's also to help others, right? So if we know what's going on with our printers, we can help others with what's going on with their printers, right? We can use this input shaping belt shaper or compare, measure, compare belt tension things. We can use the knowledge that we've gleaned from our own printers to help others get better prints. And as I've talked about in the past, you can find out a lot of mechanical issues with um, your printer just by running belt shaper and input shaper. You'll see mechanical issues, and you can fix those before you waste a whole bunch of filament chasing it down. So that's what it's all about. It's kind of just having fun. Some people just want the cool sticker or the cool picture with their name on it, with as a member. Um, that's not what it's about, right? It's not about getting your name on having me email you or give you this with your name on it. Not about that at all. It's about everything else, right? It's learning more and understanding your printer more, and willing to break a perfectly good printer that you do not need to break to understand what's going on a more motion system level, right? If I do this, what will happen? What are some of the effects? If I put an extra fan in some place, what's my effects? If I do the umbilical like this, right? If I add this zip tie here on this umbilical, is it going to mess it up? Where should I add a zip tie? Those kind of like minutia things, right? That I'm sure some of us really OCD about. That's kind of what it's about. And then after we've kind of learned it, what we wanted to learn and got that far, we get these good graphs, and then after that, as I stated, we can decide in the future, our next printer, is this something worth worrying about? So that's what the Unicorn Chasing Residence Club is. That's what we're kind of doing. It's a fun thing. Not everyone, you don't need to be a member, right? But if you want to kind of do deep dives into your printer and potentially help others, uh, it's a fun thing, right? We know. I'm gonna phrase this again. We know we have a perfectly good printer. We do not need to chase perfect graphs. You do not need to chase perfect graphs to have a perfectly functioning printer with good prints. If you want to kind of break your printer, because you will be breaking your printer, um, not physically, but breaking it such that it's no longer producing good graphs, and now you've got to fix it, then you might want to just try this out. I don't know, but so what am I looking for? Um, we're looking for. Let me give you some of my own graphs. This is acceptable for residence chasing. This is acceptable, right? Two peaks on belt shaper. You can, and if you are able to, it's a leg up. But you can get one peak on this thing. Difficult to do, right? Because some of it's just beyond your control, right? It's did the prints. There's a lot of variables, but this is perfectly fine. It's got this 125 hertz hump in here, right? That's tap. Tap's going to do this all day long. Um, you're not going to get rid of it if you're using tap. You can minimize it some. If you have a solid tool head without tap, it'll probably die out. You won't see this. This is just part of the tap issue. So if you've got tap, this is a perfectly fine. Fricks shows this, right? So you still got a little bit here. This is what this right here. This is unicorn chasing. Coming after this thing, that's unicorn chasing. Two peaks, you could still be a unicorn chaser because you know what? Depending upon your system, all the things you put in, you may not ever get this. So, but if you understand what's making this turn into this, and what variables you're looking at, and what you can control, what you can't control, if you understand that, that's good enough, right? You understand. So, once again, this is good. This you want to get it up higher, but as you can see, I've got some amplitude difference. That's okay, right? Because now you're going to start walking in, making very minute changes on your belts. But if that's what you're going for, that's what you're going for. But I would say that this is acceptable. All right, but it's okay. We'll get back into this. So what do you want to see on input shaper, right? This is perfectly fine. This is perfectly fine for joining the right. Once again, we've got this little tap thing going on here, but this is fine. Do you know what causing all this stuff, right? Do you know why that's like that? Do you know what this is, right? That's probably a screw someplace. Maybe a bearing's not good as it should be, right? It's in the binding area, like everything basically from here. If you from your main peak this way, you're probably looking at binding. So it could be a bearing going bad, whatever. If you know what the cause is, it's okay. Y peak, right? What's causing this, right? Generally, this is going to be a little umbilical going on here, right? If you see something anywhere out here, it's going to be a little bit umbilical, right? You can see this little kind of thing right here, this green, all right? That's Z tilt. You got a little umbilical. Perfectly fine to join the club. You just got to know what it is, what's causing it, how can you fix it? Is it worth fixing, right? So this, not worth fixing. FYI for those who aren't using shaketune, you're never for shaketune. This is really good, 0.4% on MZV vibrations, because shaketune feeds in your damping ratio into the shaper's calibration. So if this was standard clipper, I was running the standard clipper input shaper, this would be zero. This would be zero, but you're not really going to get that on shaketune because standard clipper uses 0.1 for a damping ratio, and right now I'm reading 0.066. So this is really good. Shaketune, let's see here. What does shaketune say? Single peak, right? Probably doesn't have tap on this because there's no little hump. So this is if you got a little tap. But okay, so what he's got here, he's got these lines. Where are they coming from? Do they matter? Part of joining the club is figuring that out, right? Also, part of joining the club is asking for help when you don't know, right? Ain't no lone wolves in this thing, right? Ain't no one got so much knowledge that they could be infallible, right? Routinely wrong. I'm routinely wrong when I'm helping people because there's just so much going on, and we really, as a community, I think, this kind of stuff in 3D printing, we are novices. Yeah, we got the math behind us. We can figure things out. But when the rubber hits the road and you look at one of these graphs and you say, it's got to be 100% this, we ain't there yet at all. We know some stuff. My other videos, I talk about the stuff we know. But there is stuff that happens in those machines, screw loose in the weirdest place, and it's coming off on where you would not expect it. So asking for help, if you don't know, is also part of joining the club, right? No lone wolves here. So something like that, an x-axis like that, right? Obviously, there's probably no tap going on. Perfectly fine. For you V0 people, understanding how the graphs relate to your. So if you got a V0 and you want to join the club, go for it. What's causing, how do your graphs look different than a Trident or a V2? Right, that's important to know because your graphs are going to look different. They're going to have the same basic shapes. They're going to look different. Switchwire guys or Enderwire guys, you've got to know what your graphs are going to look like. And then how do your graphs look different than a Core XY or Trident or V2? Because they're going to look different. You're going to get a double hump on your bed. And why is that causing that? Why are you not getting a perfectly nice hump on your X? Is it worth fixing? Right? Is your acceleration on your X so high compared to your Y that you don't even care about fixing it because you're going to be running at slower speeds anyway. So the shape or whatever, even though it's a nasty looking graph, it's going to be fine. These are the questions that you need to know if you want to join the club. You don't have to. I don't care if you think it's an elitist thing. It's fine. The goal is to understand why the graphs look the way they do, what's possible causes of if it doesn't look 100% right, troubleshooting, and part of that is breaking your machine potentially. Yeah, I'm not telling you have to, right? If your machine's got a problem and you're able to fix it by troubleshooting, kind of testing different hypotheses, you can still join the club. I'm not telling you got to break your machine at all. If you got a perfectly working machine, but you got to understand why it's like that. The why is more important than I built a machine and it's 100% perfect. It's all about the why. Because if you have the why does this cause here? If you don't know what causes it, ask for help. Right? See if you can fix it. Right? Generally what we're going to see, I'm going to go back to my graphs now. On Y, generally we'll see a hump here at 75, another one at 100. What is that? Right? If you've got that on your graph and you're like, well, what is this? Ask for help. Get the help. Can you fix it? Right? Do you need to fix it? But we have to, part of the club is identifying the problems, fixing the problems, and then helping others to fix their problems. And you really need to be able to have a problem initially to fix it. Now, if you got a problem and you just all of a sudden come back with these graphs, because they're all time stamped and date stamped, and all of a sudden magically your graphs are just immaculate. You're a member, right? You did the work. You know what you did. You know how you did it. And hopefully what you're going to do is help the rest of the community to attain that same stuff. So the last one we have is vibrations. Excuse me. Vibrations. What are we looking for here, right? We're looking for something resembling. The symmetry is going to follow with it. Something resembling that iron cross, right? Or flower, or something. However you want to describe it. We're not looking for the butterflies. Alright, so if you got a butterfly, why is it a butterfly? Now there's some leeway in this one because this is a really new graph. And we're all still learning it. Right, so if you got something decent where the graph is it's going down to 0 or it's staying steady state here, you got your butterfly, boom, that's all we need. If you think you've got a reason as to why, right, or if you want to do some more testing and figure out something new on this graph, some dude, I forget his name, on the Voron Discord figured out that he could change this graph by changing the PWM frequency, and he could get better speeds at higher speeds. So he was able to almost tune this graph for the speeds that he was printing at based upon his PWM speeds, or PWM frequency. Stuff like that, right? Now, he's still got some issues with his other graphs that he has to fix. But one of the questions I'm going to ask if you guys want to join this, and I don't mind. It's we're all helping each other. I'm gonna double check with you. Yeah, right? Because if you bring me good graphs and you say I want to be a member, or you got these graphs, I'm going to tell you, do you want to do this? Right? I'm going to check because you got a perfectly working printer, right? You don't have to have the graphs don't have to look as neat as this. Your belts should match up. But if you got this for a belt graph, and you're like, dude, I got it. It looks good. It's good in frequency. Do you want to mess with it? You got to ask yourself, is it worth it for me to figure out my problem, or do I just want to print? If you want to print, you know what? That's great. You should. These printers are made for printing. But if you want to be like, no, I want to know what's going on, then you might want to think about becoming a member. And so how do you apply, right? How do you do this? Well, unfortunately, I got low bandwidth, so you have to get on Voron Discord, and you're gonna have to get a serialized Voron to do this, right? Because I don't have the bandwidth and to for people to email me or message me on Discord. Is this qualified? I don't have the bandwidth that right now, right? I got a lot of other things I'm doing. So, unfortunately, you're gonna have to be on Voron Discord. You're gonna have to post in the Resonance channel, and you're gonna have to don't just post me your good graphs, right? Like, I don't want to know the perfect, because I'll tell you, dude, untension the belts and take another picture, right? I want to see the progress. I want to see your struggle, because learning this stuff is a struggle. You aren't going to do it just by doing it once the first time. And there has to be a learning process. And if you've learned the learning process, you say, hey, look at these graphs. I'm still going to ask you questions. Because we have to grow this community of, what do these graphs mean? How do we help people? We have to be able to get this knowledge out, and not just say, oh, it's I got a good graph, I'm done. Do ya? Right? Like, we don't know. So we have to spread the knowledge of how to do this and help each other to gain more knowledge. Right? Fricks has given us great tools. And this shaketune is a great tool to learn all this stuff and to figure us out and to characterize our machines. It's much better than standard clipper. Like, standard clipper, you can do stuff, but we got a lot more information here. And with Andrew's auto tune, and then the I forget the guy that makes the chopper resonance, right, where we can cycle through all the chopper variables. Right, those guys are really helping this community of trying to figure out this resonance and trying to get better prints, optimal speeds to use, optimal chopper settings to use, or TSMC driver settings. But we need to understand all this data. We need to spread that knowledge of, if I do this, what will happen? What do I think will happen? And then what actually happens? And then share it. So that's what the club's all about. The Resonance Club is not just good graphs. It's good graphs, understanding why we got the good graphs, understanding possible problems with our graphs, sharing the knowledge, and just trying to grow the understanding of this input shaper and make it more widely known than, oh, I got a graph, I hit save config, and I'm done. Well, why is that graph better? And then, I'll be honest with you, a lot of them aren't. So that's what I'm here to talk about today. Or I talk about is the Unicorn Chasing Resonance Club, and I will warn you about being a member. Okay, and it's a downfall that I personally am seeing, is that I can see a lot more stuff in my prints now, and I don't like it. I look at a print and I go VFA. I look at a print and I go little PA, because when you join this club, right, the end result is a print. You got to print something, and it's got to look good. And you're going to be. I'm going to personally ask questions about why does your graph look like this? What is this coming from? Where is that coming from? And then we're going to look at your pictures of your. Usually it's a Voron cube, because it's a really good cube to use to see a bunch of stuff. Uh, and I'm going to ask you questions on that. Where'd that come from? What is this right here? What is that? And I don't concern myself with the top so much, right? We're looking at the vertical sides. But there's going to be questions, and if you want to participate, and you don't have to, right? You can say, "Oh, this is so elitist. This is This is I don't need to be a member." It's fine. You know what? It maybe it is, but the goal is to spread information. The goal is to be able to teach ourselves and teach others what this all means, right? Dispel the magic, and I think that needs to happen, because there's a lot out there. This is relatively new, guys, and in the world of 3D printing, it's relatively new, and it's only very recently that we've had tools such as Frick's, such as Andrew's, such as I think it's MX480, the guy that does the chopper frequency. Only recently that we've really got these tools that can help us. So I want to spread the knowledge. I want to do this, and this is a fun way of doing it. And if you're interested, because of my limited bandwidth, you got to have a serialized Voron. You got to message or start posting in the residence channel of the Voron Discord, and maybe someone there that wants to that's sitting there learning, and that wants to go to other Discords, maybe over to VZBot or over to RatRig, or over to Printers for Ants and help over there, right? Maybe Armchair. They got some good guys over at Armchair too, and discussing this. It's just fun. As long as we can fun, it's got to be fun, guys, right? Ain't no like, oh, it has to look like this, and it don't gotta look like nothing. Let's not start that out. You can have good prints and you can have crappy graphs, right? Because you can compensate other means. So it's just fun. It's got to be fun. It's got to be just spreading knowledge, not telling people, oh, your graphs look like crap and ha 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 ha. No, it ain't about that. It ain't about that at all. It's about spreading knowledge, understanding our printers, and helping others understand their printers. And that's the Unicorn Chasing Residence Club in a nutshell. I just want to reiterate, it is not about telling people their graphs look like shit. And, oh, you're so terrible at this. No. That is not what it's about. It's about spreading knowledge, understanding printers, and helping people out. So, if you want to try your hand at being a member, we welcome you. You know where to find us. And, so have a good night and good luck.